What is up, boys and girls? Londrick here, and now I'm back for another edition of Londrick's Fave Five. And this is going to be the last Fave Fives of the year, because from now to the end of the year, I'm just going to be so busy that I'm not really going to have time to do many videos. So, I think this is the perfect way to bow out for this year. So, to wrap up Lundrick's Fave Fives this year, we're going to do Fave Five wrestling shows of 2018. Obviously, in the Fave Fives, I don't really talk about modern wrestling too much. But there are some good things in wrestling now, and going to be evidenced by this video. So I'm going to go through my personal Fave 5 wrestling shows of the year. And if you haven't seen any of these shows, I definitely recommend you checking them out. Now, the biggest submission, the one I want to get questioned about the most, is I'm just going to address it now. So not on this list will be All In. Yeah, honestly, I did like this show. I thought this was a really good show. Yeah. Probably even thought it was a great show, but it's just not one of my favourites. One, I simply think these shows are better, the ones I'm talking about. Number two, probably because I'm not the biggest Bullet Club Elite fan in the world. I like them, don't get me wrong, but I don't love them. I don't sit there watching them being the Elite and things like that. I mean, obviously I'm an Omega fan, but I'm not. I just don't really like the Young Bucks and Cody. I don't know. I'm just not really sold on Cody, really. He just doesn't do a lot for me at all. Now, I do like guys like Marty and Skull and Hangman Page, but I'm not a massive fan of them. And obviously, I'm not a huge indie wrestling fan. I mean, I do watch stuff, really, but my main watches now is really NXT and New Japan. I do watch certain indie stuff, if I hear a match is awesome, I'll watch it. But it's not like I'm religiously watching things like Ring of Honor and PWG and all that. So, and I think I do think the show's a little bit overrated. All In. I mean, for me, there wasn't that massive, awesome blowaway match. I mean, there was a lot of. I think it was 3 4-star matches, but there wasn't that classic 4.5, 4 3/4, 5-star match on it. And that's what I think was missing. But anyway, so enough about that. So I just want to explain All In's not in for my own personal reasons. But I did like the show. I just didn't love it. But anyway, so now let's get down to the Fave Fives. Coming in at number 5, we're going for UK promotion, Progress Wrestling, and the big show in Wembley Arena. Hello Wembley. So obviously, I'm not really a massive Progress fan. I mean, I have seen a few big matches and things like that. But I kept hearing about this big show that they were going to do in Wembley Arena. Obviously, for the British wrestling, British wrestling hasn't been in an arena that size for about 30 years now. Obviously, a non-WWE or TNA show. Just a pure out-and-out British wrestling promotion. So obviously, British wrestling over the last few years has got a little bit of buzz about it. I mean, obviously, WWE got on the act by doing the NXT UK thing, which we don't need to talk about too much here. But obviously, what the main promotions that are really making noise are ICW, Rev Pro, and Progress. And obviously, you got people like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven. Obviously, we brought guys like Volta and people like that. And obviously, people you'll know from other New Japan, all that Zack Sabre Jr., Will Ospreay have come through that promotion, and obviously we've had American indie talents such as Matt Riddle and Chris Hero work there and people like that. So I heard a lot about it and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to sit down and watch this entire show and see what I think. And to be I was impressed is an understatement. This is a fucking awesome show in my opinion, from top to bottom. A really good card, not a single bad match on the show, and plenty of really good ones. So obviously we had stuff like Matt Riddle's last independent match before going full time for NXT, taking on Mark Haskins in the opener. And was that a hell of an opener or what? I mean, what an exciting opener that was. I mean, probably one of the best opener matches on a wrestling show you'll see this year. Just fantastic match with Matt Riddle putting over Mark Haskins on the way out. Pretty perfect for an opener, really. Then the women's match was good. I don't think it was great. You had Ginny versus Millie McKenzie versus Toni Storm. Yeah, not a great match, but definitely a good match. I mean, this Millie McKenzie definitely has a bright future. She all three of these are signed to NXT UK, so Storm and Ginny did have a really good match in the NXT Women's Tournament not too long ago. Millie McKenzie's actually a protege of Pete Dunne, who's 18 years old. So that's just crazy. Pete Dunne's 25. He's already trained people in wrestling. And Millie McKenzie's 18 years old, so what a future she's going to have. Probably one of my favourite matches of the night for the Atlas title. It was Trent Seven versus Doug Williams with Williams' career on the line. I mean, this style, this matches where kind of brought you back to watching the old world of sport, British wrestling style matches back in the day. Just very technical match and all that. And Doug Williams, something of a legend in the British scene, because obviously before this British boom, there was a kind of a slight British boom about 15, 16 years ago in a promotion called the FWA, with people like Johnny Storm, Jodie Flash, Alex Shane, and Doug Williams. Doug Williams was probably the main guy in the British indie scene at that time. And then obviously later he was in Ring of Honor for a bit in the early days of Ring of Honor. I think he was quite prominent in pro wrestling Noah in the mid-2000s. And probably to most American fans, he's best known for his kind of underrated run in TNA in like 2009, 2010. That kind of time period where he was leading the faction British Invasion with Magnus. Rob Terry, I think, was in it as well, and even had a pay-per-view match with AJ Styles one time. And obviously Trent Seven, you know, from NXT UK. Yeah, this is a really good match, and Williams lost, and well, we'll see if his retirement sticks. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I mean, how many people actually retire for good, to be honest with him? But we'll see. Then we had Jimmy Havoc versus Paul Robinson. It was just hardcore match, so a classic death match type thing. So obviously back in the mid to late 90s, this was kind of all the range of things like ECW, FMW in Japan, IWA Japan. Then obviously it's kind of obviously WWE being more PG and stuff, and yeah, just kind of the business getting away from that thing. We don't see these kind of matches as often now, but when they do, it's really good. So Havoc versus Robinson, this is just carnage. So everything really, light tube, thumbtacks, everything you can think of. They probably pulled out all the stops this match. And then this is what was called a Thunder Bastard match. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it was basically a tag team tournament match with all the tag teams. And this was really get everyone on the card type thing, so that was fun. Then the last three matches we had and I'm going to say this right, Pete Dunne versus Ilya Dragunov. This was an awesome match. I thought this match was brilliant. First time I'd really seen Dragunov wrestle. I mean, I'd heard a little bit about him, because he'd done stuff in the WXW promotion in Germany. He's a Russian guy. So this was basically built as a grudge match. Who's the best wrestler in Europe? Pete Dunne or this Russian guy, Ilya Dragunov? And what I did like about the NXT UK title was not on the line, so made the match in doubt. Because obviously if that belt was on the line, Pete Dunne was winning, because WWE weren't going to put the UK title on someone they hadn't signed. But yeah, obviously this was just an awesome match. I mean, just a really great wrestler match. I mean, I've said a lot of good things about Pete Dunne. I don't really elaborate on that. And then a TLC match between Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews. Probably not a great match, but a good one. I mean, obviously I think there's a few botches in this one, but and obviously there was a horrible situation where the tables just would not break. For whatever reason, the tables just weren't cooperating with the wrestlers. No, then the main event, Volta versus Tyler Bate for the Progress title. Oh my fucking god, you have to see this match. Especially now Volta is apparently signed by WWE and we debuted on the NXT UK brand in January. Oh my god. So Volta is probably the best big man worker in the indie scene right now. And him and Tyler Bate had a damn near perfect David versus Goliath match. From what I heard, this is originally supposed to be Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Volta, but New Japan pulled him for sure, because on the same night they were doing, New Japan were having a show in America. Was it another, I can't remember where it was now, probably in LA again, but I can't remember. But anyway, but this match, what a hell of a replacement. Obviously this is one of those matches where obviously Volta's like £300, Tyler Bates is about £185, so this could have been ridiculous, but they made it work. I mean, some of the stuff Tyler Bate was just picking up Volta and stuff like that. Just amazing. I mean, I think Tyler Bate's like freaky strong for his size. He's like 5'6", 185 pounds, but he can lift guys up like Walter. It's pretty amazing, really. I mean, yeah, I just absolutely love this match. You have to see this match if you haven't seen it. And if you have time, watch this entire show. I mean, if you want to see what the UK British scene is like, and it's what NXT UK could be if you get time to develop the brand and have these big takeovers and that, I'll say definitely check this show out. And coming in at number 4, so I had a hard choice really, because I only had a room for one of these shows. I had to omit a really big show. I only had room to have Takeover Brooklyn 4 or Takeover War Games 2, and I had to sadly omit War Games 2 because I went for Takeover Brooklyn 4. Obviously Takeover War Games is an amazing show, but I do like this one just a little bit better. So obviously I think 2018 NXT, especially as far as takeovers and match quality as a whole, really outdone themselves. I mean, for the most part, nearly every takeover has been like at least good, but I think in 2018 it just took it to a whole other level. I mean, pretty much every takeover was awesome, so it really is hard to admit takeovers from them. But this one was really, really awesome. There's another one which I'll get into later on, where you probably know what it's gonna be. But for me, this show is fucking great. I mean, there's 5 matches on this card, and I rated 4 of them at 4 stars or more. For me, that's pretty incredible. And the other match was pretty good as well. So yeah, the night before SummerSlam in the Barclays Center, Takeover Brooklyn 4, just an outstanding show from top to bottom. Obviously kicked off with an awesome match for the NXT Tag Team titles, the Undisputed Era versus Mustache Mountain. And yeah, this is the end of a really awesome trilogy, to be fair. Obviously the first one came at NXT UK's Royal Albert Hall show back in June, with the Undisputed Era shockingly losing the NXT Tag Team title to Mustache Mountain in such an exciting match. I mean, for me, Strong and O'Reilly, that version of the Undisputed Era, has been the best tag team in the world to me in 2018, anywhere. Whether that's NXT, whether that's WWE Raw, SmackDown, New Japan, Ring of Honor, you name it. For me, absolutely, Strong and O'Reilly, the best tag team of the entire year. And Mustache Mountain, they've done a really good job for the time they've been in and out on NXT. Then obviously they had their second match on a July edition of NXT. Probably the best regular NXT TV match of the year. No, not probably, it is, for my opinion. The best regular NXT TV match of the year. Hell, one of the best tag team matches in NXT history. You know the one with where Tyler Bate threw in the towel to save Trent Seven? That was an amazing match, and this was a blow-off. Probably wasn't as good as the NXT regular TV match, but I would say probably better than the Albert Hall match. And yeah, just an awesome match, man. Fantastic crowd, great pace, all that. You had Velveteen Dream versus EC3, which was just a good match. Certainly wasn't on the standards of all the other matches on the card, but I thought it was perfectly fine for what it was. And rumour has it, if EC3 hadn't got injured, he would have been called up to the main roster after SummerSlam, so that's something. And obviously, Velveteen Dream's just come on so much over the last year and a half, it's unbelievable. I mean, last takeover, he damn near stole the show of Tommaso Ciampa. And I just really hope he has a great 2019, and hopefully WWE don't screw this one up. And then we had Adam Cole versus Ricochet. That was another awesome match. I mean, great singles match for me for the North American title. I mean, one of the spots I saw was incredible. Ricochet doing a line salt, and Adam Cole hitting him with a perfect super kick. I mean, that spot must have took quite a little bit of practice and great timing to pull off, because in the wrong hands that spot could have looked so 40, but it looked awesome. I mean, for me, if you want to watch this match, and the Pete Dunne match on NXT as well, just to show that Ricochet is more than just a high fly spot guy. Ricochet is actually pretty damn good all rounder. He can mat wrestle when he wants to and stuff like that. He can brawl when he wants to. I mean, Ricochet is just a great talent. I mean, it's obvious he's going to be one of the guys that gets screwed up when he goes to the main roster. But now in NXT, he's done a really good job. And Adam Cole, of course, had a really good run on NXT. And that's another one you fear for when he goes up the main roster. Because he's not 6'2", he's not 230 pounds. I think if he was, he'd probably be a guaranteed main eventer. But he's smaller than average, skinnier than average. So hopefully Vince likes him and sees that he's a good worker. Then for me, Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler, that was an excellent match. I mean, these two have really good chemistry of Shayna being the bully and Kairi Sane fighting from underneath. And Shayna Baszler's the one who's definitely come on a lot this last year. Obviously, when she did the Mae Young Classic, she hadn't wrestled for that long. But obviously, she's got a big MMA career with the Four Horsewomen, one of Ronda Rousey's best mates. Came to NXT, and obviously, at the end of the day, NXT is his third brand and all that. But at the end of the day, it's still developmental. So you put people like Shayna Baszler on there to develop the skills, to gain experience, then to come up with the main roster. But she's done really well. I feel like a lot of people don't like Shayna Baszler because apparently these days, according to some kids, like you have to throw about 1,000 super kicks and do a load of 450 splashes to be considered a good worker. Because Shayna Baszler's a ground wrestler, she does a lot of strikes and submissions. She doesn't do much flashy moves. So according to some people, because of that, she's a poor wrestler. But I think, obviously, with her MMA experience, she brings this believability that not many women have. And I think Kairi Sane, after kind of a meh start to NXT run, really coming to honor this feud of Shayna Baszler. They just made great opponents, you know. And obviously, so you had two title changes on this show, Ricochet and Kairi Sane. And that's another reason I like this show better, because we had two pretty cool title changes. Then the main event, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, last man standing match. The blow off to the epic rivalry, the rivalry of 2018 bar none. And again, that includes New Japan for me. So WWE, NXT, 205, Raw, SmackDown, Ring of Honor, Evolve, New Japan, you name it. Rev Pro, you name it. Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa is the feud of 2018. Obviously, this is a replacement because it was supposed to be Gargano versus Ciampa versus Black. And who knows, that match might have been better than this one. We don't know the answer to that. I do think it would have been different. I do think Black would have got pinned and the Gargano Ciampa feud would have continued. But obviously, they had to do this last man standing match in this show. I definitely think it's a weakness out of the three. I will say that. But that doesn't mean it wasn't absolutely fantastic, because it was. Obviously, Ciampa winning and all that. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen any of the takeovers this year, I would recommend them all. And this is definitely one of the best. Not the best, mind you, but we'll get to that. Coming in number 3, we're back to New Japan, and it's going to be Dominion 6.9, or otherwise the Okada Omega Show. So yeah, what I feel about this show is obviously it has the Okada Omega 2 out of 3 falls match, but seemingly everything else seems to be forgotten, and there was a lot more to like on this show than just that match. So Dominion really is probably the number 2 New Japan show there. Wrestle Kingdom obviously being the flagship, being the New Japan version of WrestleMania, and then I think the G1 Climax is something totally different. It's a totally different concept. It's a series of big shows which has big implications. So I guess like the SummerSlam would be Dominion over the years. Obviously the New Japan, they've always had a big show, Dominion, and this year they did that as well. So overall, a fantastic card. I mean, obviously this year is the year that I followed New Japan for the entire year from start to finish. So it's been a great year. And majority of these top shows, if I've been at home or I've watched live, because ironically enough, if I'm home, like if I'm off work or working later on, it's actually easier for me to watch New Japan shows live than WWE shows, because with the Japan time, New Japan shows start from like roughly 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning UK time, with obviously the WWE shows being either midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, so obviously with the main event, I was so excited for this show, and overall, it absolutely delivered. Now, granted, it had a couple of random tag team matches on this show. However, said tag team matches led to something else. So, example, Juice Robinson and David Finlay versus Jay White and Yoshihashi. That existed to build up to the Juice versus Jay match at the G1 special in the USA. Was that a Los Angeles show as well? I think it was in Los Angeles, but I could be wrong. Then of course we had Ishii and Yano versus Zack Sabre Jr. and Minoru Suzuki. That also existed to build up to the Ishii and Suzuki match at Strong Style Evolved UK. So although these were fairly random tag team matches and average matches, they did serve a purpose. Now, a really underrated match on the show for the Never Openweight title, Hiroki Goto versus Michael Elgin versus Taichi. Yeah, this wasn't a fantastic match or anything like that. But it was a pretty entertaining match overall, in my opinion. I feel like Hiroki Goto's done a really good mid-card job this year in New Japan. I mean, he's always had solid matches on the card. And I think he was a really good Never Openweight champion. This is Michael Elgin's first and only Never Openweight title match. I mean, he won the match and then he dropped it right back to Goto. So it's kind of disappointing Elgin never got at least a decent run out of the Never Openweight title. But it was a pretty decent match overall. Really good matches, the Young Bucks versus Evil and Snad for the IWGP Tag Team titles. Well, this was right after the Young Bucks left the junior heavyweight division, went to the heavyweight tag team division. And I mean, that was ultimately the right move, because at the end of the day, they were 7-time IWGP junior heavyweight tag team champions. They'd done everything in that division. They'd faced everybody. They'd won titles of Wrestle Kingdom and all that sort of shit. And they just needed to move on, and I think they really did. Because at the time, I think the heavyweight tag team division needed a boost as well. And I think the Young Bucks did a good job of providing that. I'm not the biggest Young Bucks fan in the world, but I did really like this match. It showed me one thing, really. The Young Bucks are well suited to the heavyweight tag team division. Being a smaller tag team, they can play the underdog roles against these heavyweights and then sell and make the big comebacks. I mean, one match I really, really want to see next year is the Young Bucks versus Killer Elite Squad. I think that match would be awesome. And I feel like Evil and Sanada have done a good job as a tag team. I mean, they won last year's World Tag League, ended up winning the tag team titles at Dominion. Not Dominion, Wrestle Kingdom. But then Evil got injured, so that kind of derailed the title reign a little bit. But then they got it back on track. But I think ultimately both guys are going to be more successful in singles roles. I mean, Evil's had little pushes here and there. I mean, he's had a little feud with Tanahashi. I mean, he's had an IWGP title shot against Okada. And then he main evented Power Struggle recently against Chris Jericho. And I feel like Sanada eventually is going to break out and be a main event guy. Because I think he's got all the tools. I mean, for me, I would love to see him hold the Intercontinental title next year. Then maybe push towards the IWGP Heavyweight title in 2020 or 2021. But either way, awesome match for me. I'll say probably one of my favourite Young Bucks matches in New Japan so far. Good stuff. Then obviously the semi-main event of Chris Jericho versus Tetsuya Naito. Obviously this rematch is going to happen now at Wrestle Kingdom. But this was the first one. Now, as a match, I wouldn't say this was that great. Because as a match, I thought it was a good match. But I think it was nothing special. But I think the storytelling and the character work of this one was off the chart. I mean, obviously, at 48 years old, Chris Jericho was not the performer he was in his prime. But as a promo guy and a character, he's still awesome. And I just feel like the crazy bastard Jericho was awesome in this match. Where he started out where he attacked Naito before the bell and just really beat the shit out of him. I think Jericho's crazy man gimmick reminds me a lot of Terry Funk during the feud of Ric Flair in 1989. Just awesome stuff. And I just love how Jericho can keep himself over in all these generations. I think the surprise of many, Chris Jericho won the Intercontinental title that night. And that, of course, has led to Wrestle Kingdom where Naito's probably going to win it back. But yeah, I thought this was an entertaining match. It was more of a story than a great wrestling match, if that makes sense. But of course, this show is always going to be about the Okada Omega Classic. I mean, the end of the feud, 2 out of 3 falls. Yeah, I can't really say much more about this match that hasn't already been said. I mean, this is one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. I mean, obviously there's been some amazing matches in New Japan over the last few years, particularly with these two guys, Wrestle Kingdom 11, Dominion 2017, which went to a 1 hour draw. Then an awesome match in the G1 Climax last year. But because I've seen this match twice now. I watched it live, and then I've watched it back since. Haven't watched it a third time yet, because it's a really long match. I mean, one day I'm going to watch all the Okada Omega series in order. I mean, but this match for me, oh my god, this match is incredible. So obviously the hype for this match is insane, because obviously Okada was now 2 years into his IWGP title reign. Omega had 2 title shots, he'd lost one, he drew one, then he'd beaten Okada in the G1, so they were tied. And then Okada and Omega decided they were going to have to go the ultimate to do this. So this match is going to have no time limit, so no time limit draw is possible. And then they're going to do 2 out of 3 falls, so we're going to truly see who the better man was here. Could Omega finally do it? Could Omega finally defeat Okada for the IWGP title? So he'd been chasing Okada for the best part of a year and a half. Now Okada, of course, being the man, 2-year title reign, overcome everybody. But this is going to be seen as his biggest challenge. Could he beat Omega in a 2 out of 3 falls match? And yeah, this match was just off the chart. I mean, it's a 5-star match. I'm not going to give any nonsense of it's 6-star, 7-star crap. Just say it was a 5-star match and debate which one was better. But for me, this was the best of the bunch in my opinion. Just my opinion, of course. I think a lot of people like the Wrestle Kingdom match more. I think a lot of people prefer the Dominion last year match, the 1 hour draw. But for me, they took everything that was great on this match and just expanded on it with an incredible story. I mean, obviously, Okada winning the first fall was key, because now, like, holy shit, Omega's going to have to beat Okada 2 falls straight. Can he do it? And in fact, he could. I mean, one of my favourite spots was Okada collapsing when he tried to do the Rainmaker, which is a great call back to the year before, where Omega collapsed when Okada was trying to do the Rainmaker. The selling in this one was incredible. I mean, it's like a 65-minute match, so you have to really like long matches to enjoy it. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, if you have a short attention span and you don't really like to see long wrestling matches, you might not like this match. But for me, this match is amazing. Of course, the culmination of Omega finally doing it, finally winning the big one, overcoming Okada, becoming the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Just magic. I mean, a magical match, a one for the ages. I mean, this match is going to be amazing in 30 years' time, 50 years' time, you name it. So for me, I love this show, and particularly this Okada Omega match, so that's why Dominion's at number 3. Now, I imagine everybody's probably going to have the same top 2. I mean, I'd be surprised if they didn't. But it's all about which order you put in. For me, I've got to go with number 2, NXT TakeOver New Orleans. Now, obviously now I've told you number 2. You probably know what number 1's going to be, but this is a gold standard of NXT takeovers in my opinion. I think I said before, when TakeOver Dallas happened in the night before WrestleMania 32, I thought, that's it. NXT, this as a brand has peaked. I'll never see a better NXT show than that. However, 2 years later I was proven wrong, because the night before WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans, NXT outdid themselves by producing an amazing takeover. The best takeover of all time. Hell, one of the best wrestling shows of all time, period. I mean, there was 3 amazing classic matches on this show, and 2 good matches, but one of those matches had a big storyline development and it served its purpose. So, kicked off with an amazing ladder match to crown the first NXT North American champion. Adam Cole, Ricochet, Velveteen Dream, Killian Dane, EC3 and Lars Sullivan. I mean, great cast of characters there. And they got a ton of time as well. I think they got like 25 minutes to do this stuff and have a really just amazing match. Because obviously you had the story of like Killian Dane and Lars Sullivan being the resident monsters of this match. They were doing some great shit in there. Velveteen Dream pulling out the stuff. EC3, Ricochet. he was probably man of the match for me in this match. I mean, this is I believe this is Ricochet's first match on NXT, but he might have had at least one match on NXT TV before this, but I'm not certain. But it was certainly his first high-profile match, and his chance to make a big impression, because Ricochet signed with NXT in January, coming off a great independent run, most notably in his New Japan's junior heavyweight division, again, with those matches with Will Ospreay. And of course, he's really great running Lucha Underground as Prince Puma. And obviously, I think this was one of the first matches of EC3 as well. Although, let's be fair, EC3's NXT run's kind of thing, hasn't been terrible, but it's definitely been disappointing. I think this is one of Killian Dane's last matches, Lars Sullivan. So, really great job. I mean, just an awesome pace throughout this match. I mean, obviously, my favourite spot, and it was Ricochet falling backwards off the ladder. Looks like he's going to fall out the ring, but no, he lands on the top rope and does a side moonsault on the outside. I mean, that was just nuts. I think that's one of those moves I would have told you was physically impossible until I actually saw Ricochet do it. I mean, just an incredible spot, and obviously Adam Cole gets the big win, wins the North American title in the opener. Now we had Shayna Baszler versus Ember Moon for the NXT Women's title. Remember what I said before about Shayna Baszler coming on so much? Because I feel like this was around the time she started to really show noticeable improvement. Because she's been at NXT for a few months. I think the TakeOver Philadelphia match between these two was just alright. But I feel like this one was a lot better because obviously the feud had developed by then. Shayna Baszler has improved. And it's sad now looking at Ember Moon. She hasn't really done much of the main roster. Because let's face it, this year's been terrible for NXT call-up. But of course Ember Moon was a pretty big deal on NXT for a while. I mean, she got built up throughout 2017. I think the feud with Asuka really helped her along because she had two really good matches with Asuka at TakeOver Orlando and a great match at TakeOver Brooklyn. Maybe in hindsight she could have been the one to end Asuka's streak, who knows. But then when Asuka went to Raw, Ember Moon ended up winning the NXT title at TakeOver War Games, I believe it was, in a Fatal 4-Way match. Yeah, I think it's looking back at Ember Moon, Shayna Baszler feud is really good. I don't know if it was a great match or anything, because I do feel like most of the Kairi Sane Shayna Baszler matches were better, but I did enjoy this match, and Shayna Baszler won the NXT Women's title on this show. So that was that, and then Ember Moon, of course, went to Raw the next Monday. Of course, for a triple threat match for the NXT Tag Team titles and the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Undisputed Era versus Authors of Pain versus Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. Now, it was supposed to be Fish and O'Reilly, but Fish got injured, so Adam Cole pulled double duty here, teamed with Kyle O'Reilly to defend the NXT Tag Team titles on his behalf. This is a good match. I think it was a shortish match. I think it only went like 10 minutes, maybe slightly longer. And I think it was a good match. It was more of a sprint than anything. But obviously, I think there's a big storyline implications in this one. Because Roderick Strong turned on Pete Dunne, John the Undisputed Era. And I feel like Strong John the Undisputed Era was a big move. Because I feel like after that, the Undisputed Era grew. And I just feel they got a lot better after that. Because like I said before, I do think the Strong and O'Reilly team's a lot better than the O'Reilly Fish team, in my opinion. And obviously, I'm guessing this kind of turned Pete Dunne babyface. So it was a pretty cool moment. And then obviously the last two matches, NXT title match, Andrade Cien Almas versus Aleister Black. Fantastic match. I mean, with all the awesome matches we've had in NXT this year, this definitely gets forgotten about quite a bit in my opinion. But this match is friggin' great. I mean, obviously Cien Almas hasn't had the best time on SmackDown. I know I'm probably repeating myself by talking about how some of these NXT call-ups hasn't been good this year. But Almas is a really disappointing match. Yeah, he's been in the ring with people like Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy, but he hasn't really had a proper feud. I mean, the closest one he had was he had a little bit of a feud with Rusev over the summer. But what have they really done to develop Almas' character on SmackDown? Hardly anything at all, really. And that's a shame because the guy's really talented and could be a big star. And this is Aleister Black winning the NXT title on this show. Because obviously Aleister Black's another one. I know I said it before and I talked about Ricochet and Adam Cole. But another one I'm really concerned about when he goes up, are they going to fuck his character up? Because I do think he's got some potentials, Aleister Black. I think he's got an interesting look. I think he'd be popular with the younger crowd because of like how he looks and all that and his gimmick. I think he's a damn good in-ring performer. And I think he's at least alright on the microphone. Wouldn't call him a great promo guy, but I think he's good enough to hold his own on the microphone. And yeah, obviously because probably the most memorable NXT title match was the Gargano-Almas match at Philadelphia. But this match was pretty awesome as well. And a great finish with Aleister Black winning the NXT title. And then it led to the main event, a non-sanctioned match, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. And this match for me, the second best match of the entire year in wrestling. And obviously number one's Okada versus Omega. But for me, this is definitely number two. Gargano and Ciampa match. This is a fucking classic. Absolute classic. I mean, it went like 37 minutes, so it got a lot of time. And I feel like a lot of people were a little bit bored of it, but at the end of the day, if you're going to have a match that long, it's not going to be all fast-paced the entire time. That's just unrealistic. And you've got to do these slow spots to build up to the bigger spots. I think the storytelling in this one's amazing. I think if people want to know what I mean when I talk about storytelling in the ring, watch this match. I think that's kind of what you do for kind of great storytelling for a modern crowd. Because say it was two different guys having like the same matches, the same moves and all that, it wouldn't be the same. It's the history between these two guys that made this one special. The story of DIY becoming an amazing tag team, and then them splitting up brutally, and then obviously Ciampa getting injured, then coming back to cost Gargano the NXT title, costing him his job. Forcing Gargano to do all this crazy shit to try and get his job back, because that was the stipulation. Gargano's reinstatement was on the line. So yeah, wonderful match. I mean, some of the spots are amazing, the storytelling was amazing, and the finish was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've probably only watched this match. I think I've only watched this match twice as well, actually, because obviously I saw it when it happened, and I think I've already seen this entire show twice. I saw it when it happened, obviously, and I think I've only watched the show back once, so maybe before the end of the year I've got to watch this entire show again. But for me, as far as NXT takeovers, this is the greatest one ever. I mean, obviously when this show happened, WrestleMania 34 didn't have a chance. So yeah, if you haven't seen this show, guys, and you have the WWE Network, you absolutely 100,000% have got to watch this show. That being said, what is my favourite wrestling show of the entire year? And the answer is simple. Wrestle Kingdom 12. So this is a really special show for me because like I think I've explained before how I became a New Japan fan in 2017. And then I finally subscribed to New Japan in December last year. And this was the first ever New Japan show I watched live from start to finish. And what an experience it was. I mean, from top to bottom, this show was amazing. There's a lot of hype going to this show, and I feel like it lived up to the hype. So, obviously, Wrestle Kingdom is New Japan's version of WrestleMania. It's the annual show at the Tokyo Dome every year, every January the 4th since about, I think 1992 was the first year to do it, and then in 2007 these shows were rebranded Wrestle Kingdom. And over the last few years, Wrestle Kingdom's been the best shows of the year. I mean, look at the last few Wrestle Kingdoms. Wrestle Kingdom 9, amazing. Wrestle Kingdom 10, amazing. Wrestle Kingdom 11, also amazing. So this show had a hell of a lot to live up to. Because I think New Japan had an amazing year in 2017. And they needed to kick off 2018 in style. And for me, they absolutely did. Now, I'm not sure if 2018 is better than 2017. Oh, sorry. But at this period that we're going through now in New Japan, it was really an amazing era. So look at this card. So we kicked off with a junior heavyweight title match with Roppongi 3K versus the Young Bucks. And this match was actually great. This match was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I think Sean Yo, Roppongi 3K, are really going to be future stars. I mean, Sean in particular, for me, has a hell of a lot of potential. And I just feel like he could be like the top guy in the junior heavyweight division for a long time. Because both of them are like still in the early to mid 20s. So they've got a hell of a future ahead of them. And obviously the Young Bucks, Young Bucks. I'm not a big fan of the Young Bucks, to be honest, but I do respect what they've done because they've kind of become massive stars outside the WWE on their own with the branding and the merchandising and all that. And they do have a following. I mean, could be just a this is the younger generation. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I'm just a crudely old bastard. But anyway, but I do feel like they sold a lot better than this match than they usually do. With I think it was Matt Jackson who was selling the back injury. So I was slightly disappointed that the Young Bucks won because I feel like that would have done wonders for Roppongi 3K getting the massive win over there. Young Bucks in the Tokyo Dome. And then we had the usual never open weight gauntlet match, which was just what it was. It was fine. There was nothing really wrong with it. It was just kind of there. It was pretty much the get everybody on the card excuse type thing. Then obviously on this show there's so many great matches that a lot of matches go under the radar. And I mean Kota Ibushi versus Cody Rhodes is one of those matches. Now I don't think this was a great match or anything like that, but I think it was an entertaining match. It was at that point it was probably Cody's best match in New Japan because I think some of Cody's New Japan matches got a lot of criticism. Notably the year before his debut match of Juice Robinson at Wrestle Kingdom 11, and I think that the match out of Michael Elgin at Dominion of 2017 was kind of and even I think he even just had a very good match with Okada in the US for the IWGP Heavyweight title. So. But I think this was a really good match. Obviously, it was a mid-card match, so it didn't get a ton of time. But I mean, they worked quite well together. I think some of Cody's character work was excellent as a heel, and Kota Ibushi being a great babyface. I think some of the manager work by Brandy was excellent in this match as well. And then we got a tag team title match, Killer Release Squad versus Evil and Sonata. I think this was a decent match. It was probably the worst match of the night, but I think it was still pretty decent. Because I think that actually shows how good this show was. I think everything else after that was pretty much great. After that, so we got Hirooki Goto versus Minoru Suzuki for the Never Openweight title, and I thought that match was fantastic. To be honest with you, yeah, obviously there's better matches on this show, but I think this is a hell of a gem of a match. Just a realistic badass match between a great heel and a great babyface, with stakes on the line, a never openweight title versus Hirooki Goto's hair, and the culmination of the storyline. Because obviously the storyline of Suzuki Gun was interfering in all Suzuki's matches, causing shit. And I think they did a great job here. They just had a match without Suzuki Gun interfering, and it was a lot better as a result. Although they did an awesome tease where it looked like Suzuki Gun were going to interfere again, but Chaos members stopped them. Also, I loved it at the start where it looked like Suzuki had choked Goto out in the first few seconds, and the match was going to be over right away. But Hirooki Goto fought back. I mean, Suzuki's just a pure badass, and I think Hirooki Goto's just a really underrated worker. And I think this is a massive win for him as well, beating Suzuki in the Tokyo Dome to regain the Never Openweight title. And then we had probably maybe one of the most forgotten awesome matches of the year, the Junior Heavyweight title match of Kushida versus Marty Scurll versus Will Ospreay versus Hiromu Takahashi. This match was awesome. And I think I forgot to mention, by the way, now I remember, talking about the Dominion, the Ospreay and Takahashi had an amazing match on that show. I can't believe I forgot about that match. I'm such an idiot. But anyway, this match here, one of the best junior matches of the year. I think the junior division's been awesome for the last couple of years. In 2017, you had the awesome Kushida-Takahashi rivalry. I mean, Will Ospreay came into his own, Marty Scurll came through. Yeah, overall, Fatal 4-Way match is a fantastic match. Because New Japan don't do multi-man singles matches that often. I mean, they do tag matches fairly often, well, more than fairly often. But as a Fatal 4-Way match for the Junior Heavyweight title, just fantastic pace, awesome spots, great storytelling, the works. And Will Ospreay got a big win on this match to regain the Junior Heavyweight title in the Tokyo Dome. And now, interesting to see how far he's come, because this year he's going to be facing Kota Ibushi for the Never Openweight title, which is just going to be amazing. Then Tanahashi versus Jay White. This wasn't one of the best matches of the night or anything, but I think overall it was a great match. think it told a great story of a young lion against a veteran. Obviously the youth of Jay White against the age and experience and wisdom of Tanahashi. Now, although watching this match, you can see how much Jay White's come in the last year. I think Jay White is just getting better and better and better. And I think obviously now he's in a much better position than he was last year. I mean, it's going to get even bigger for Jay White this year. And he's going to face Okada. I mean, that match could make Jay White a superstar. Even if he doesn't win, he has a world-class performance, he could still be a main event guy coming out of that match. But yeah, this is a big deal for him though, because Jay White had only just come back from excursion, returned to Power Struggle as the Switchblade character, challenged Tanahashi for the Intercontinental title, the Wrestle Kingdom, in the Tokyo Dome. So it showed a hell of a lot of confidence in New Japan then, because obviously New Japan has big plans for Jay White. I mean, he's had an incredible year. And obviously put him in the ring of the Tokyo Dome with Tanahashi is a massive statement of intent. I mean, a lot of people don't like this match as much, but I quite enjoyed it. I thought it told a really good story and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, not one of the better matches of the night, of course, but a really good match. But then, of course, double main event really just made the show even better. Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega for the United States title and no holds barred match. A classic, an absolute classic. I mean, I think this is a match everyone, well, not everyone, but most people were watching Wrestle Kingdom for, because obviously the huge announcement of Chris Jericho showing up at Power Struggle to challenge Kenny Omega for his first match outside the WWE since 1999. Wow. The hype for this match is unreal. Could they live up to it? Yes. They told an amazing story, and I would love how this match is just so different to any other New Japan match. Because obviously this is more of like an American style brawl, which we don't really see much of in New Japan, because New Japan don't really do gimmick matches often at all. I mean, it took them to 2015 to do a ladder match with Michael Elgin and Kenny Omega. So you don't really see matches like this very often. And then, but this match is fucking amazing. I mean, Chris Jericho delivered in spades in this match. I mean, the pressure was on him. Could he do this? And have a match worthy of the Wrestle Kingdom with Kenny Omega. And yeah, an amazing performance from both guys, a fantastic story. And one of my personal favourite matches of the entire year, with Kenny Omega defeating Chris Jericho. Then the big main event, Okada versus Naito. Naito's redemption, obviously getting kicked off the Wrestle Kingdom main event 4 years earlier, reinventing himself, forming Los Ingobernables in CMLL, coming back as a big heel, and then getting over with the fans to the point where he wins the G1 Climax in 2017, gets your Okada match here. All signs are pointing to Naito become the IWGP champion on this night. That's not what happened though. Okada retained the title to the surprise of pretty much everybody. But the match was awesome. I think there was something missing to have it on the level of the Okada Tanahashi Wrestle Kingdom main event, and of course the Okada Omega match from the year before. But it was a classic match nonetheless, although the second best match of the night, because I think the best match of the night was Jericho Omega. But it was an excellent match. I mean, it was a typical what you expect. 35 minutes slow build storytelling, leading to the big kickouts and all that. Big people missing the finish, people hitting the finish and kicking out. But I think the story, the finish was, it kind of made sense because Naito went for Destino. Then instead of going for the cover, Naito made a big mistake by trying to go for a second Destino, but that gave Okada enough time to counter that into a tombstone, and then hit the Rainmaker to retain the IWGP Heavyweight title. So yeah, amazing show for me. I absolutely love this show, and for me this was the best wrestling show of 2018. And that's a wrap, guys. So like I said in the start of the video, that's going to be it for Lundrick's Fave Five for 2018. Obviously with the schedule in December is just manic, so I'm going to have a lot less time in my hands, so I'll be coming back with a Fave Fives in January. Just a little preview of what's coming up. So obviously review TLC on Monday, because I'm going to watch, I don't know if I'll be going to watch it live, but I'm going to watch it and review it. Then I've got 2 lists coming up next week, so obviously the main roster matches of the year, that's going to come next week, because I'm sitting on that because of TLC, because I feel like if Brian and AJ and Becky versus Charlotte versus Asuka those two matches are potentially going to break into the list. And then I've got a 205 live matches of the year list coming up, because obviously you've got Alexander versus Murphy at TLC. So I'll do the list next week, and then after that I'll have a break after that for Christmas and all that. And I've got a list coming up after Christmas, early January. I'm going to do top Wrestle Kingdom matches, looking back at all the matches from the previous Wrestle Kingdoms. And I'm not promising this, but I might, if I get time after Christmas or before New Year, to do a Wrestle Kingdom 13 preview / predictions audio video. So obviously, thanks for all the support throughout 2018, guys, and thanks for supporting these Londrick Fave Fives. And until next time, guys, peace.